Holy Gospel according to St. John, the 15th chapter.
Glory to you, Lord.
Jesus said, "As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. I have said these things to you, so that my joy may be complete in you, and that your joy may be complete. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. No one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command you. I do not call you servants any longer, because a servant does not know what the master is doing. But I have called you friends, because I have made known to you everything that I have heard from my Father. You did not choose me, but I chose you, and I appointed you to go and bear fruit, fruit that will last, so that the Father will give you whatever you ask in my name. I am giving you these commands so that you may love one another." The Gospel of the Lord. So one of my husband's greatest statements of endearment to me is, "I love you more than tacos," which I know sounds very, very romantic, right? And my response is always, "I love you more than salsa," because I love salsa. I have never ever met a bowl of smashed up tomatoes that I don't like, but my very favorite is you can get it at Safeway, and it's like this chunky kind with black beans and carrots. And it is my idea of an ideal dinner, because I plop it in a bowl, I put feta cheese on it, and I'm good to go. I love it, or maybe my taste buds love it. So when I say to my husband that I love him more than salsa, it says a lot, which obviously he and I are joking a little bit with that. However, Drew and I got around to this little interchange in a way that bears saying in today's day and age. As many of you know, if you know me well at all, you know that I can get hung up on phrases and the meanings of things, and one of those things is love. So I'll tell you what I told my husband, who probably wondered what he had gotten himself into. I told him that love is the most overused and cliched word around. I might have actually said that I hate the word love. I explained how I felt that we had cheapened the word by saying things like, "I love your shoes," "I love my job," "I love that funny cat picture on Instagram." Really? Like the same way I love my husband or my children? So, hence, following that conversation, Drew's statement to me often is that he loves me more than tacos. And I know what he means. I know he means that he isn't taking the word love lightly, that he gets how weighty that word is. Well, in our reading today from John, the word love is used 9 times in 8 verses. And I thought that we toss the word around easily. John is using it over and over again. But he's trying to make a statement, a point about how significant this thing called love is, specifically Jesus' love for us. But I'm not certain that we really understand the breadth and depth of love. Do we understand what real love is? What it involves to really, really love somebody? And what it means to give ourselves to someone? Not long ago, the kids that are here for First Communion will attest to this. Not long ago, Pastor Steve asked the First Communion kids to define the word forgiveness. And it was really, really hard for them. They said things like, it's when you forgive somebody. Or you say you're sorry. Trust me, trying to characterize what forgiveness really entails is not easy. And I venture to say that our grasp of love is similar. We use the word almost ad nauseum, but asked to define love, we will often point to the dreamy, quickened heartbeat type of love, or the fierce affection that parents have for children. So that picture up there is me and Drew, the guy that loves me more than tacos. And it is, in many respects, the quintessential picture of adult love. 2 people on their wedding day, with all their days lying before them, just waiting to be written in the book of life. It's a picture with which we're all very, very familiar with, because we often think that love looks like that. Well, there was a time in my life when I said I was never, ever, ever, with a really strong emphasis on the never, ever, ever, doing the whole love thing again. Which wasn't true when I said it, and it isn't true now. However, my statement reflected the shattering of my view of how love is and how love acts. But love is messy. Love is gut-wrenching, and it is primarily not frilly dresses or fancy tuxedos. Because we all know that despite our best intentions, sometimes love doesn't always turn out well. And then we're tempted to shut ourselves off, fortify our hearts, and promise ourselves that we will never ever open ourselves like that again. Which may be why we love tacos, and we love new haircuts, and Zelda the Warrior video games. They're way, way easier to love than people. It's a little bit of risk with a fair amount of reward. And yet Jesus commands us to love people. This is my commandment, that you love one another. The whole of the scripture today is a testimony to love. But Jesus' picture of love looks very, very different than ours. It's a love that Jesus calls us to that goes beyond boundaries and involves the willingness to sacrifice for others, to extend ourselves into other people's lives, sort of be as vines, as it were. But exactly how is that possible? It's much easier for me to love salsa. Now, I would like to be sarcastic here. As you all know, I am a fan of sarcasm, and I would like to be sarcastic here and say, does Jesus not get how gut-wrenching love can be? Does he not get how painful it is? Does he not get how virtually impossible some people are to love? But of course he does. He knows, because he's loved and he loves. He knows how it feels to have your heart splayed open wide enough that the entire world can clamor inside of it. And he knows how it feels to have those you love walk away and turn a blind eye to you as you are left there to bleed to death. And still he loves. There is, even if you ask the most cynical of people, no denying that at the heart of what we all desire is love. However elusive, confusing, twisted, or misunderstood it might be, we all long to be loved and to love. But looking at the world today, it's easy to wonder where the love is. Amongst the rioting and the rubble, earthquakes and poverty, fractured families and tears, love seems incredibly distant. But truly, love is only distant when it's defined specifically as fairy tale love. And this week I saw love manifest itself 1,000-fold. I have a couple of non-traditional pictures, which are snapshots that I believe Jesus would have taken if he was capturing love. They are pictures which captivated my soul and drew me into a life other than my own, and broke my heart. Broke my heart in the ways that it needs to be broken. And I hope that they break yours. So this haunting picture, I saw it, and my immediate reaction was, this is the most stunning photo of the Christ child I have ever seen. The stated tagline said, "A brother protects and comforts his sister in the wake of an earthquake." And it got to me. These two little children, hardly older than babies, hugging each other. And the little girl, she clings to her brother as if she's looking to him for shelter from the world. And the boy's scared eyes say more than words can say. Now, I don't know how you command that type of love. But there before me, I saw the innateness of Christ's love woven into a tiny body. I saw Jesus the Messiah, Jesus the child, Jesus the healer, and Jesus the protector. And I have never truly understood the word abide more clearly. As the Father has loved me, so I love you. Abide in me. Now, here is the irony of that picture. It isn't from Nepal. It's from Vietnam in 2007. You can't believe everything that you see on the internet. When I found that out, I almost didn't share it with you, because the tagline was wrong, but I couldn't get away from it. The photo was and is a depiction of true, abiding, sacrificial love. As Nepal and Vietnam are not places that I ever think of. And they certainly aren't a people that I've ever loved. And now I think about them. Statistics show that in 3 to 4 weeks, most of the world will have forgotten about Nepal, just as most of the world has forgotten about Vietnam. And I hope that's not true. I hope that hearts keep breaking, and the story of Nepal and Vietnam abide in the caverns of our souls. Because love looks a lot like that, too. And this. Love one another as I have loved you. Now, I am convinced that the only way that this act of love could have happened was by the Holy Spirit falling fresh upon this kid and whispering the words of 1 John in his ear. Who is it that conquers the world but the one who believes Jesus is the Son of God? Because the only thing that will conquer the world of racism, of hate, of poverty, of corruption, of disinterest or despair is Jesus Christ, whose name is love, and on occasion goes by the pseudonym of unnamed child in Baltimore. Because he's heard the same things that we have. The police are racist, and the looters have no care for others. The world has been telling him to hate police officers, and yet there he stands, as the love of God saying, "Come to me, all who are thirsty." Love as a light in the darkness, love as a forsaken, and love as a friend. But there's also another picture of love here, a surprising one. And it's a kind of love that we do not always want. And it's found in those police officers, the ones who did protect others, who stood protecting us from our very selves. Because sometimes that's what love does, is stand strong for us, despite the fact that we rally against it, just so that we won't self-destruct. Whatever your position is on the police in Baltimore, it is true that sometimes love gets spat upon, degraded, dishonored, while it's trying to bring about peace. The world has been telling us to pick a side. And the only side that God has ever picked and will ever pick is love. At the cross, we see a picture of love that doesn't meet our expectations or our fantasies. And thank God for that. For we have a God that loves us much, much more than tacos and much, much more than salsa. We have a God that loves us more than his very life.